Good morning, everyone. I call this special council meeting Tuesday, April the 30th, 2024, 10 a.m. to order and to acknowledge we are on the traditional territory of this Chehalis. Unfortunately, the rules of law are vital for this village. We need to start with the very basics, and we need to get the rules of law in order. So I'm disappointed to have to say what I'm about to say, but we will continue on here and hopefully we can get through this meeting here. So I'm going to start again, and I think it's important. So I'm going to ask the Deputy Corporate Officer to actually read out the actual oath of office for Mayor and councillors.
Okay, I'll have to go grab my computer. Are you okay to wait?
Yeah.
All right. Be right back.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councillor.
I'm here to approve the tax rate on the financial plan. That's what we should be doing right now. We spoke about this at the last time and you got up and you walked out of here.
Councillor, you'll
I'm
have
not interested in listening to what you're going to say. I'm here to do the village business, and that is to get the financial plan and the tax rate approved. Thank you.
You'll have an opportunity to speak, Councillor, in a few minutes.
Is there something that can be addressed in advance of this, or is it having to go through these steps? Just asking.
I didn't hear your question.
Okay, my question is there something that can be addressed in advance of having to go through this exercise?
No, I think this exercise is important.
Okay, so you'll have to give me a moment.
Yes,
Could you please explain who it's important to?
I will. Just give me
No,
time. Councillor, just, you will understand.
Do you have it? Okay, thank you. All right, so I, Edward, do solemnly affirm that I am qualified to hold the office of mayor for the village of Harrison Hot Springs, to which I have been elected. I have compiled with the provisions of the Local Government Act in relation to my election to this office. I will abide by all rules related to conflicts of interest under the community charter. I will carry out my duties with integrity. I will be accountable for the decisions that I make and the actions that I take in the course of my duties. I will be respectful of others. And hold on a second. I'll even move this up. Oh, there you go. There you go. I will demonstrate leadership and collaboration. I will perform the duties of my office in accordance with the law, sworn by the above named mayor before me at Harrison Hot Springs, British Columbia, the 7th day of November 2022.
It's important that we follow the rules of law. I must follow the rules of law in order for order. Without order in government, we fail. So the last couple of meetings have failed. This meeting here, I take issue with the notice of council meeting. The notice of council meeting, and I'm going to ask the Deputy Corporate Officer here to do a little bit more here.
Sure.
And if you can read under the community charter, the requirements for the notice of the council meeting, please.
Yeah.
Section 127.
Thank you. Section 127, notice of council meetings. Now, you want me to read the whole thing?
I do, please, yes.
Okay. 127.1, a council meeting must A, make available to the public a schedule of the date, time, and place of regular council meetings, and B, of the availability of the schedule in accordance with section 94, which is under public notice at least once a year. Subsection 2 Subject to subsection 4, notice of a special council meeting must be given at least 24 hours before the time of meeting by A, posting a copy of the notice at the regular council meeting place, posting a copy of the notice at the public notice posting place, sorry, that was B, and C, leaving one copy for each council member at the place to which the member was directed notices be sent. 3, the notice under subsection 2 must include the date, time, and place of the meeting, described in general terms, the purpose of the meeting, and signed by the mayor or the corporate officer. Notice of a special council meeting, so this is subsection 4, notice of a special council meeting may be waived by unanimous vote of all council members.
Thank you. So the last council meeting, there was some conversation that it was not posted at Memorial Hall because it wasn't required. But clearly, under the subsections that you just read, it is required to be at the hall of where the meetings are to be held. Memorial Hall was the official meeting place. So it is a requirement that it be posted. And I just wanted to make that clear. So where I take issue, unfortunately, today here is this notice of meeting actually is not signed by the mayor or the corporate officer as required under section 127-3. So here we continue on, and we can't even get through the getting through to the approval of the agenda. This has been since the first day of being mayor. We've gone through this, and now we're going through it a year and a half later. The rules of law are important to be followed. If we don't follow the rules of law, that puts us up to a challenge. If we go through here and adopt the financial plan and the tax bylaw, that alone can be challenged, costs the village unnecessarily court costs and delays in the process. We must follow these rules. So there is a provision, and I'm going to suggest to council that we actually pass this unanimously so that we can carry on with this meeting here. And that's just due to the time being of the essence here. So can the deputy corporate officer just help me with the section of the community charter to read for calling?
Again?
No, for calling the meeting without having proper
Oh,
notice.
that would require notice of the special meeting would, subsection 4, notice of a special council meeting may be waived if by unanimous vote of all council members.
Okay, so I would move that that recommendation. We unanimously waive the proper notification of this meeting. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Allen. Discussion on this.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Allen.
Just speaking in favor of the motion, I think that's appropriate. We have the 4 councillors here and yourself, and we do need to get on with this. So I'm quite happy to support this motion and vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson, I know you had some comments.
No, my comment is just want to get this done.
Councillor Bynum.
No comment.
Councillor Facio.
No comment.
Thank you. So I'm ready to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councillor Facio, I think you have to do a verbal yes. Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So there's nobody opposed. Okay, so it passes unanimously.
Would you like me to run through the agenda?
No, not the next item here, again here, and I am going to recall under section 131 of the community charter, the mayor's right of recall. There is urgency in this matter, and with time being of the essence. So I wish to recall motion of council from the April 3rd, 2024 regular meeting of council. And before I read it, I just want council again to understand that this is just a recall of exactly the same vote. We're just voting on the same motion and a second time. So the motion was moved by myself and it was seconded by Councillor Allen, and that is that council sole source to approve the acquisition of the Sentinel interface fire detection system, which is generally described as 65 sensors, 4 gateways, and 3 zoom cameras to be deployed in the east sector forest with time being of the essence. So we're going to move right to discussion. Is there any discussion on that? Councillor Allen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, could you just remind us how the vote went on April the 3rd so we understand what we're dealing with at the moment?
The motion failed. It was opposed by Councillors Facio, Jackson, and Vidal.
Thank you.
Further discussion, Councillor?
Well, I'll defer to Councillor Jackson as a comment.
Councillor Jackson.
I'm not opposed in principle, but could you tell me what the asset value of the company is that's going to supply this? And is this a startup? My research indicates it's a startup. That they don't, it looks to me that the parent company may have been started in Budapest, which is fine. But what capital do they have to ensure that in the future they can meet up with the obligations that they have? Being a finance person, a bank, I want to know that they can perform what we're getting into. And do you have that information? Do you have that financial information for me?
I'm going to ask our Chief Administrative Officer now. Do we have any of that information?
We don't have that, the financial information. All we have is a proposal that was presented to council.
So the answer, I guess, Councillor, would be no.
Pardon?
So the answer would be there is no information.
Then it's very difficult for me to approve something when I don't know whether or not the vendors have the ability to fulfill their contractual obligations to the village. I think it's a good idea. That's not the point. But the point is we need to know more about the people who are going to supply it to us. Predator Ridge is on its own, as we all know. We've all researched that. They've taken it upon themselves. And with just a little bit more research, I think it's probably a good thing to have.
Councillor Vidal.
Thank you. After the April 3rd meeting, I do want to reiterate that I also stated that I was not against a censoring in the East Sector lands. My concern was that there seemed to be all over the map different quotes for installation, for maintenance, and I wasn't satisfied that those financials were available. Also, at that meeting, there was a motion to refer to staff to do more investigation into it. From what I understand, this company is wanting to use Harrison as another trial or test. Predator Ridge and the company up in Predator Ridge who is using the census has not even gone through 1 year of wildfire. So I am still not confident that, number one, that is the right company. I'm not saying it isn't, but that far more research needs to be done, and that's why it was referred to staff. I'm sure there are other companies out there that provide the same sort of service. And we need to do our due diligence on making sure if this council decides to go ahead with a censoring, that we are getting the best value for our dollar. Thank you.
Councillor L.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Well, I appreciate the points that have been made by Councillor Jackson and Councillor Vidal. But I have to remind everybody that we're dealing here with a new world reality, which is the global warming, the increase in temperature, the decrease in rainfall and moisture, and the dramatic increase in the flammability of our forest lands. So when we're in this new environment, we are fortunate, I believe, to have people in government and people in academia, particularly UBC, who are working on solutions to what are emerging new problems, such as the forest fire risk. There's no doubt that placing heat sensors or fire alarm monitors modules throughout the forest is a new technique. And as a new technique, of course, it has not been tested for a long time. There have been some tests. And any of us who have alarm systems in our homes or businesses know that there will always be bugs to be worked out. And we're familiar that those systems are seldom, if ever, perfect, and there will always be technical challenges along the way. But I believe that in this situation, where Harrison Hot Springs is faced with about 400 acres of flammable forest adjacent to our residential areas, with no really effective evacuation plan or evacuation route, if that happens, that we as a council need to move ahead and do whatever we can to protect the lives and property of our residents and our visitors. So I am very confident that if we, the council, do what we are supposed to do, which is simply to approve this in principle and turn it over to our Chief Executive Officer, Mayor Wood, for him to run with that approval, negotiate with the company that has made the offer, monitor the results, that we can, in fact, for a very small expenditure of 150,000, 129,000 basic and some maintenance, we can provide the protection. It's not really the protection, it's an alarm system, but it will allow us, if there is fire that outbreaks in that area for human caused reasons or a lightning strike or some other event, that we will know about it early enough to be able to deal with the fire effectively before it grows. So I am very much in favor of approving this resolution today and giving the authority to our Chief Executive Officer, who has a lot of experience in dealing with systems around fire alarms and fire events, to take that approval in principle from council, run it through whatever testing and negotiations are required to ensure its success and make it happen. My concern is that the company, I recall, said that they were making us a special offer as not as a test site, but as a demonstration site for their technology, which other communities could easily access, being in the Lower Mainland. And for that reason, had made us a special offer of a significant discount to their tariff on the system. But the offer was only good until the end of April. And this is the end of April. So if we are going to act on this and do something to protect the village from fire in the year 2024, to my mind, we must make this decision today here in this room. And I'm very much in favor that we do so and turn it over to our Chief Executive Officer to ensure that the village gets whatever protections we need in the contract and can move ahead on the project. This is all based upon my assumption that the offer is still open. We have turned it down one time back on April the 3rd, and I hope that the company hasn't gone off and made the same offer to another community, which I suspect may have happened. So it's all subject to the company's offer to Harrison still being available to us. And if it is, I'm very much in favor of moving ahead to do something to reduce our fire hazard risk in the year 2024. And I will vote in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Facio.
Thank you, Mayor Wood. First of all, my understanding was that when you sent out the notice for this meeting, it was just going to be for the financial plan and the tax rate. I think if you had in mind to bring this back for reconsideration, that it could have gone through our CAO to come back with some references. And I know he has been researching as well for other companies, Canadian companies, I believe, to do. I'm not against the project, don't get me wrong. I'm not against protecting our community in any way we can. But, and I think also that that there could have, that the time lapse, I mean, suddenly throwing this in front of the council again without a proper report, like Councillor Jackson said, financial wise, who is this company a viable company? We really don't know. And also, I find it a bit strange that a resident of the community who admitted at the last meeting he was your friend is coming up with a company to supply this apparatus for the village. So I'm concerned about that as well. Again, I'm not concerned about the actual idea, but if this company wants to come and do a tryout for free and to look at it, that could be an option. But I think I'd like to hear from our CAO, because he has been doing some research to how far he has gone with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Administrative Officer, want to comment on?
Sure. I can advise council that I reached out to 4 separate companies by email with a list of requests for the system that was very similar to the proposal that was offered. It included maintenance schedules, what the cost of the capital cost, and I can advise that 3 of the 4 have replied. One is turned out the one that Mayor Wood forwarded to staff was just a fuel prescription company. I do have a new proposal from Sensinet, and then there was a company from that was out of country, but has very old technology. I'll say not old, but it's advanced technology, I should say. It's been active since 1990, and it's more of a global protection system. It's I forget what the name is off the top of my head, but it's more of a it would be more of a regional protection system. So there's 2 options. One, it would be like a Sensinet, which would be in the east sector and just monitor one section of the village, whereas this other technology would be basically monitoring the whole region. So if it's council's wish for a report to come back without company names and particulars, I'd be happy to produce that.
Thank you. So I think there's some confusion in here from Councillor Jackson's motion from that same meeting here. And the motion, Councillor Jackson, there was that the Fire Smart plan be referred to staff to come back to a special meeting with the projected costs and a plan for implementation. I believe you were talking about the sensor system, not just a Fire Smart plan. And I think so we've caused some confusion there. So staff have been out, staff have done work. Again, that's April 3rd. Here we are almost 4 weeks later, And that has not come back to council either. So I want to talk about why I brought this back. I mean, public safety is my priority in this village here. When we talk about what we experienced last summer with the droughts and the wildfire situations, it's a reality. It's a reality where we live. And I think it's crucial that we actually move fast instead of slow. And that being said, the evacuation route, now that the minister has informed me that it is not going to happen this year at the earliest, we could still be, in my opinion, that evacuation route may never happen. So then I'm going to go back and I'm going to flip the side here. So I'm a marine engineer. I'm a marine engineer, which is operations of a whole village, except it floats. There's only one way off a ship, one evacuation route. And on board a ship, if a ship did not have fire detection as part of its plan, the ship would not sail. Detection is vital for human life. So I'm going to go back to an event that happened last summer here. And this is when we had the dry lightning that came through. So I was weeks after it being extremely dry in the village here. When this dry lightning came through, it was later in that evening. And first thing I did is, as mayor, got in my car with my wife and we started driving around the village, and we started driving around the forested lands, having a look. It wasn't too much further in time when all of a sudden we heard sirens going. So I was at the corner of McCombs and McPherson at the time, and we could see the fire trucks going down Hot Springs Road, leaving our village, which was the village's fire department. So I proceeded to follow to see from a distance what in fact was happening. Well, coming from the other way was the Agassiz Fire Department. The Agassiz Fire Department were coming with their tanker. They came with all of the equipment. There was a number of vehicles that were out there. These fire trucks, fire vehicles were going up and down Hot Springs Road, just outside of Gulf Road. And they were trying to locate where there was a report of a fire, which ended up turning out to be somebody from the village of Harrison Hot Springs apparently put a prank call in. So this consumed our fire department, Agassiz Fire Department, in search for something. During that time, I witnessed and watched the behavior of both departments. They both worked extremely well together. I was proud to see, but the reality is the dry lightning was still there. All these cornfields, you just look them across the golf course. They're just feet from the road. They were dry as dry can be. Was it likely that they catch on fire, or one road in, one road out? No one wants to have to deal with that. Again, the evacuation route, in my opinion, is something that probably, or most likely, will never happen. We need a detection system. We are about to enter into a very extreme dry season according to the province. I have a meeting following this meeting with the province on the wildfires and their concerns with the wildfires and the drought conditions here. So when new technology comes out and they're able to actually put detection system in that can protect an area as large as our East Forest lands, that to me is something that we need to jump at. Do we know all the history of this company? No, we don't. I've been dealing with municipal contracts for most of my life, and you never really know what's in the financials, what's going to happen to them the next day. Anything can happen. But I believe for even the anxiety levels in this village, which I believe are at a high level, we need to be doing and we need to be acting on it. The mayor only has 30 days to recall this vote. So right now we're at day 27, 28. I had to call it at this meeting. Otherwise, I could not recall this decision. So I hope Councillor Jackson understands the reason for that. But I felt that this was a very important decision to make. So I'm going to recall the vote, and I'm going to reread the original motion. And again, all we're voting is on the original motion once again. So the motion is as follows: that council sole source to approve the acquisition of Sensinet interface fire detection system, which in generally described as 65 sensors, 4 gateways, and 3 zoom cameras to be deployed in the East Sector Forest with time being of the essence. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
I wanted to ask a question first.
Councillor, I've
Sorry,
already.
because my
Councillor.
concern is that I'm not opposed to it.
Yep.
Within the motion, you should
Councillor.
have how we're gonna pay for it.
Councillor, you're unfortunately, you're out of order. I've already called the question.
All right, okay.
So it's all in favor? Opposed? Councillor Facio, can you see? I can't see your hand. Councillor Facio, are you opposed? Have we lost connection with you, Councillor Facio?
Hello, do we get an opportunity to ask a question?
You had your opportunity.
Well, my question would be the same as Councillor Jackson. How is this going to be paid for?
Councillor Facio, I have called the question. There's no further discussion after the question has been called. I did not see your arm, sir. Were you in support or opposed?
My picture went, I couldn't see, it's come back again, and I couldn't see how it was voted.
Councillor Facio, you don't have the option of being able to see. If we've lost connection, I'll deem that you're not a voting member. Were you opposed or in support?
I can't hear you. Hello?
I'm gonna ask you I'm gonna ask you the third and final time.
Has the vote been taken, yes or no?
The vote has been taken.
And what I
could not see, Councillor, what I could not see was your hand, or I did not hear your voice. Were you in favor or were you opposed?
I haven't had an opportunity to ask a question.
Councillor Facio. So I called the question. I called opposed. All those opposed.
Are you recalling the question?
I am going to recall the opposed. The original, yes. All those opposed, please. Again, all councillors.
Are you calling the
I'm
question
calling it.
again?
I never called the opposed. Correct.
You did, I just think there's some
Actually,
confusion.
and only Councillor Vidal, I think, voted opposed.
So did Councillor
And
Jackson.
I could not, and he did not, and I did not see Councillor Facio's. Councillor Facio is not answering the question, which means he votes in the affirmative or he is deemed disconnected. Can you still hear me okay, Councillor Facio? I have to deem connection is lost.
Hello, I'm back again.
I have to deem the connection is lost.
He's back.
I have to deem that Councillor Facio has lost. So the motion passes.
The motion does not pass.
Councillor Vidal, I'm speaking.
The motion does not
Councillor
pass.
Vidal, I'm speaking.
It's an equal.
Councillor
2-2, the motion fails.
Councillor
If you're
Vidal.
not gonna permit
Councillor,
Councillor Facio to vote, then the motion.
Hello, I have to have the opportunity here. I have to have the opportunity. I put myself out here from a distance to attend this meeting. Give me the opportunity.
Please speak. Do we,
Can we, I as mayor declare
Well,
your
I'm at the-
connection is lost. Please, counselor, please
I
mute
am-
council.
I am, you haven't given me the opportunity to vote.
To the clerk, please mute the councilor, Facio.
You haven't given, you're not giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. So the question was called, all those opposed, the only opposed was Councilor Vidal.
Counselor Jackson opposed.
Counselor,
No, I just want to get, I want to get on with this.
Councilor Jackson was in favor.
I just want to get on with it.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Moving on to introduction of late items.
none.
No late items. Next
Seeing
one.
none, moving on to approve the approval of the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councilor Allen, seconded by Councilor Jackson. Discussion on that. Ready to call the question? All in favor? Opposed? Nobody opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next order of business.
Can we unmute Counselor Fascio?
No.
Moving on to reports.
Excuse me, is Counselor Facio attending this meeting? Mayor Wood?
Order, please, Councilor.
I'm calling a point of order.
And your point of
Are
order.
you
And your point of
permitting-
Order, Councilor.
Are you permitting Counselor Facio to attend this meeting?
Councilor Vidal, your answer was already given.
Counselor Facio is available.
Councilor, to the deputy corporate officer, would you like to read out the council procedural bylaw for when there's loss of connection for electronic means of a meeting, please? Section 3. Three dash, oh, I believe.
So we have,
Three dash, oh, I believe.
okay, well, there is an opportunity also to connect via telephone.
Three dash,
So
three dash, oh,
we
please.
could
Three dash, oh.
offer the connection via phone as
Order,
well. I just
order,
wanna
order,
point that out.
please.
3-0, I'll repeat, I'll speak, or sorry, say it, because the mayor has requested it. If the chair or majority vote of members determines that the connection quality of a member attending electronically is inadequate to allow for the member to participate, they may deem the member no longer be in attendance, which must be recorded by the corporate officer.
Thank you.
That was deemed.
Is
Counselor
that, I didn't quite hear the first part of it, that's up to council to make that decision?
If the chair,
Yeah, if the chair or majority vote of members.
Thank you.
moving on.
Moving on to reports from staff, there are none. Moving on to bylaws, A is 2024-2028 financial plan bylaw number 1202, 2024. The recommendation is that 2024-20 to 2028 financial plan bylaw number 12 02-2024 be adopted.
Do I have a mover? Moved by Counselor Jackson, seconded by Counselor Allen. Discussion on that. Counselor Allen.
I don't think that we need discussion on this. We've had it long enough. I don't want to sit here again and listen to Mr. Allen go through another.
You're free to leave anytime, Councillor
Order,
Jackson. I have the right to speak.
Order, please. Counselor
Not to
Allen.
preach.
Order, please. Counselor Allen, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to have my legal right to address council on the motion in front of us at this moment. If Councillor Jackson doesn't want to hear me, he's free to leave.
Counselor.
So I'm looking at bylaw 1202, Mr. Mayor, and while I'm generally in favor of it because it's a fairly innocuous bylaw, it projects our financial planning 5 years ahead. There's one item that I think we need to deal with, and that is on page 2 under permissive tax exemptions. We're fortunate, in my opinion, to have a church in Harrison Hot Springs. It's not terribly well supported by Harrison residents, but it's a valuable community asset because they have the good grace to allow us to bury our dead there. And I think it's always important to have some spiritual presence in a community. And in the past, we have granted that particular church a permissive tax exemption on the understanding that there is value to having a church in a community. And most communities do exempt all of their churches from municipal taxation. So in our 5-year plan, on page 2 of this, on page 4 of the agenda, I suppose it is, under permissive tax exemptions, we do not list the church as an exempt property. And I believe that we should do so. I don't know when it was dropped, and I don't know if they've actually been paying taxes. But if we're going to grant them the exemption from municipal taxes, which I believe we should do, we need to list the church or churches or some reference to them in bylaw 1202. And maybe the financial officer has some insight into, I know we used to have the church as an exempt property. Did we stop doing it at any time? Did we do it for any good reason? Or was it just something that got dropped accidentally?
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Wood, through to Councillor Allen. The exemptions for the church, which is a non-profit charitable organization, it comes through BC assessment. So basically, the assessment code is that it's we have the assessed value, but it's exempt. So that's what we've been going with, that we don't need a bylaw for that particular property. But I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but that's the only property that we have in the village that would.
Well, we still have recreation and non-profit with the taxation rate applied to it in bylaw 1203. So if BC assessment puts a value on that, we would be obliged to apply the property class 8 tax to it, wouldn't we?
Go ahead.
Yes, so the assessed value is still important, no matter whether a property is exempt or not exempt from actually paying municipal taxes. So BC assessment has deemed that this property is a charitable organization. That way, it still has a value, obviously, but it is exempt from paying municipal taxes.
But I think we're the only people who can exempt it, not BC assessment. I think we should do that within these bylaws. Okay, thank you.
Anything further, Councillor?
No, that's all.
Councillor Vidal?
Nothing further.
Councillor Jackson?
No.
I had a few here. And I just want to talk about the process itself, just to the Chief Financial Officer. If you can just talk a little bit about the dates and where we are now and how critical of a point we're at right now, and just to give the members of the public some understanding of what's happening with the financials.
Of course, yeah, thank you, Mayor Wood. The province, the ministry sets out basically 3 hard deadlines for municipal governments each year, and that's May 15th. And the 3 deliverables for those deadlines is that a municipality must have a approved financial plan, which is 5-year, so that's approved by council. The second one is that there must be an approved tax rate bylaw. And then the third one is that council must approve the financial statements for the prior year. So all of these deliverables have to be fully adopted and approved by council by May 15th.
And the consequence if it did not.
Thank you, Mayor Wood. It hasn't happened to my knowledge, but their potential consequences could be that the province would hold grant funding for the municipality, as well as there could be other consequences as well.
Thank you for that. I see our fire chief is in the audience here, and I just want to give him an opportunity. I know at the last reading of the financial plan, and I wanted to make sure that we had sufficient monies in the budget for the requirements for the fire chief. Would fire chief like to make any comments on that, chief?
I believe emails were sent to the CAO, CFO as well to you regarding our budget, and for this year, I believe our budget is adequate.
I think it would be really helpful for members of the public to see what in fact we are doing. I believe that there's $30,000 or something for a Fire Smart coordinator. I don't know if our fire chief wants to respond, or a chief financial officer, or the chief administrative officer, who wants to talk just a little bit about the increase to the fire department budget.
I can refer that to our community services manager if we're talking about the Fire Smart grant.
Just the whole budget itself. I just want the public to see that we have increased the fire department budget, and overall, like how much and what is it that we're doing with that.
Thank you, Mayor Wood. The main increases that you'll see in the fire department budget are the training that was available through the Fire Smart grant that I've been coordinating with Curtis and his team on. There is also some startup costs. It's going to be a multi-year project, but for a structure protection trailer. So again, we've been working with Jace, our Director of Operations, and Curtis on sort of, that starting point for what that will look like. And then in consecutive years, we can continue to apply to outfit that trailer to have it fully ready to go. And then that's the only ones that fall under the Fire Smart budget. The other ones fall under some general like consulting, which is our local Fire Smart representative position, which has been filled and is just looking to get finalized and get started here. So that will be all the community involvement, as well as the creation of a new community wildfire resiliency plan, which will replace the 2017 community wildfire protection plan.
And also, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, there was addition to this year's budget for turnout gear, helmets, and other protective gear for your members?
Yeah, this year we needed to purchase 6 new sets of turnout gear for members that were wearing old gear. Every 10 years that gear expires. We have new helmets for all the members that had expired helmets. So as of current, we're just waiting on the 6 sets of turnout gear, which is pants and jacket. Once we have that, the haul will be pretty much under the WCB and NFPA and NIOSH regulations for appropriate personal protective equipment.
Thank you for that, Chief. Is there any other?
Yeah, and I'd like to identify that when speaking to Chief Genest, we were, because there were crunch time for the budget, if there was a capital investment that he found that was deemed necessary through operational requirements, we could come back to council and seek an additional resolution to add to the budget after adoption, and that goes for any other unforeseen expenses that we see throughout the year. We can always come back to council with a report requesting additional funds be placed in the financial plan.
Thank you. Did any other staff member have any other comment on that? I just think it's important for the public to see what monies are being spent over and above what would have normally been the previous budgets. So this is to our Chief Financial Officer here. And I just have here a note, the legal budget. I know during the financial open house, there was a member of the public, and I believe she's here tonight, or sorry, it's not tonight, this morning. And she had some questions on the legal costs. And there was a resolution of council at, I believe, again, the April 3rd meeting, which was to release it to the public. Can you just talk about that? Or
I'll speak to that. Yeah, that's with our corporate officer, Amanda Graham. Unfortunately, she's unavailable for a few weeks, but upon her return, we'll make sure that gets completed and released.
So the individual members of the public don't get to see where our legal costs are before we actually adopt this bylaw. That's actually it's unfortunate to see that, and I know that Councillor Facio wanted more money in the legal budget, and I know Councillor Allen had also expressed some concerns. And I think it's really important that document, because that document will show some significant amounts of money that we have spent in the last couple of months. In fact, we've probably spent our year's budget already. So for the amount of money that's in this budget now, go ahead.
May I speak to that? Thank you. Like I said before, if there is because we are in crunch time here for the budget, I might offer to council that if there is, we could kind of get an estimate on what our year may or may not look like after the release of these documents. And we could come back to council with a report asking, with a resolution to ask to add to that budget in the future.
So just to add to that then, so the amount that we will have approved if this bylaw goes through has already been spent to date then?
I'm not sure. I don't know where we are at.
Could our Chief Financial Officer comment on the amount?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Wood. The way legal firms work, they're always a month behind in billing, but I would estimate that we're pretty close to the budget, yeah.
So we have no further monies for legal, and yet there are quite a number of things that legal is still working on. I won't get into that discussion, but I mean that resolution of council was to release this information to the public so that the public could see what it was. So I will say I'm disappointed that that resolution hasn't been released. Next item I just want to talk about, and that's the Tourism Harrison. And I'm gonna ask our Chief Financial Officer, I had a little conversation with him on this before. Can you just help me out here with what the 5-year plan and how our agreement works with the Tourism Harrison, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Wood. The Resort Municipality Initiative contribution to Tourism Harrison is first governed by the Resort Development Strategy, which is a plan of council. Our current one identifies a $90,000 contribution, and that is expiring at the end of this year. So there will be a new Resort Development Strategy coming to council this year. Once that's approved in the RDS, then that affects a event services agreement with Tourism Harrison, which lays out the contribution, which also expires at the end of 2024.
Thank you. I think there was also part of that agreement, there was a report on the success of the previous year events and what events are coming up for this year. I haven't seen Tourism Harrison in the year and a half I've been here, but I just saw the report an hour ago. I would hope that staff would release that to the rest of council so council can see that. It's got some good information on it, and I think that again it could be helpful for a lot of people. So I look forward to seeing Tourism Harrison come to a council meeting and we can have a good conversation. Again, I look forward to that agreement. I believe the amount was $90,000, and upon, again, adoption of this financial plan, we have to continue on with the 5-year plan that's in place, which is a continuation of the 90,000. So there is no increase for Tourism Harrison in this financial plan bylaw.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Wood. No, there is no increase identified, and council is only approving this year's budget. We do have the 5-year plan, but each year council obviously can change that. So we've continued with the 90,000 budget for the plan, but based on how the resort development strategy, et cetera, goes, that will be adjusted next cycle.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question about that?
No, sorry, Councillor,
Okay.
you had your opportunity here. And the last the last one here, I just want to make sure for the financials here. So just bear with me. And this is to do with the provincial advisors report. And
Did you want me to speak to that?
let me just open this here up first. Would the Chief Administrative Officer like to give a?
Yeah, so the recommendation, I believe it's point number 1 in Mr. Poole's report, suggested including $15,000 into the budget for ongoing educational opportunities for council. I will advise council that we currently have $5,000 in the budget for this year. I have reached out to multiple consultants to see if they're available. I've reached out to 5. I've engaged 3 of the 5. 2 are not available. 1 has provided a proposal to myself, which I will share to council. And then the other 2, I have had no response. So what I'd recommend to council is that adopt the budget the way it is today with the $5,000. And then once we get a final cost of what the engagement is going to cost, then I can come back to council with that report and the financials tied to that as a process as well.
Good. Thank you. So yes, I did want to just go through the recommendations. In conversation with the province is basically demanding that we follow Poole Consulting, which was the provincial advisor, and that we follow these recommendations, and the province is waiting back for confirmation that we have followed these recommendations, and these recommendations go back to November of 2023. So, you know, we're many months after these recommendations here, and council doesn't even have the budget in place that was again being recommended by the province here. So the amount is $15,000, and we have $5,000 in the budget here. So I would like to just, I know the Chief Financial Officer doesn't want me to do an amendment on this budget, and I'm going to hold off on it until I read through the rest of these items here. So again, I think that these recommendations are a must and a requirement of the province. This is the time, the budget, everything comes down to with the budget here. Item 2 here was the procedural bylaw. I don't know if there's any financial consideration for to bring forth a new council procedural bylaw with the Chief Administrative Officer.
Absolutely, yeah. Myself and the corporate officer, Amanda Graham, are working on a revised procedural bylaw. We're about halfway through, and there should not be any financial additional financial burden for that.
Thank you. The next one was item 3, that the council finalized the adoption of the official community plan. That one I can say is complete. Next item was item 4. And this is here that mayor and council review and understand the existing social media communications policies, 1.32. And it is also recommended that a professional media and communications facilitator provide training sessions for council members and staff on the proper use of social meeting as officials of this village. Again, my question here today to the Chief Administrative Officer is for financial reasons only. Is that monies already in this budget, or?
No, that would be part of the process with number one as part of the educational opportunities for council.
Okay, so if we need to increase it, more monies would be needed for that. So the next one here is that number 5, that the Chief Administrative Officer and the Mayor continue with the regularly scheduled council agenda briefing meetings. And it says these meetings were scheduled for 8 a.m. on Thursday morning prior to the council meeting the following week. And I'm going to say this because this is an important one. I've seen all kinds of comments out there from councillors and from members of the public here. Who does the agenda here? And this again is.
Mr. Mayor, you're not
please.
dealing with the financial
Order,
plan.
please. Order, please.
Mayor,
So
can we just get on with the
Order.
agenda, please? We're talking about adoption of the financial plan.
Order, please.
No.
No, please, can we move ahead?
Order, please. The corporate officer has the responsibility to prepare an agenda of all business to be brought forward at each meeting. This is an administrative duty. Once drafted, the agenda is discussed with the Chief Administrative Officer. All agenda items will have been received at noon the day prior, and once reviewed by the Chief Administrative Officer and Mayor, will it be finalized and sent out to the rest of council on Friday. So is there any financial implication to item 5?
No.
To the Chief Administrator? No. Okay, thank you. Item 6, the council establish council Chief Administrative Office covenant in order to ensure clarity of roles and to establish a respectful relationship. Is there any financial implications to this?
That was on last, I believe, council agenda, which that meeting didn't go through, so there is no financial burden for that one.
Okay,
I'd like to call a question on the motion, Your Worship.
order please. We're almost done.
Your Worship?
We're almost done, Councillor. Finalize and adopt these.
I'd like to call a question on the motion,
Order,
because you're
please.
not dealing with the financial plan.
Order, please. These
No,
are
sorry, Your Worship.
financial costs.
They are not financial. You have
Order,
had
please,
the
Counselor.
opportunity to talk to our finance
Councillor.
manager.
Number 7, finalize and adopt a code of conduct. Is there any financial costs in that one?
Again, that was on last regular council meeting agenda, so there is no additional cost to that.
So there's no financial. So the only financial implications are for number 1, which is for council training, and for council 4, which is the social media communications policy for having training. And I am not going to put an amendment on the table at this time because I think we need to move this adoption through. Discussion is complete. I'm gonna read the motion out and then I'll call a question. So the motion is that the 2024-2028 financial plan bylaw number 1202-2024 be adopted. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Moving on to bylaw B, report of Chief Financial Officer dated April 15th, 2024. 2024 tax rate bylaw number 1203-2024. Recommendations in front of council is that the tax rate bylaw 1203-2024 be introduced and given first reading, and that tax rate bylaw number 2003-2024 be given second and third readings.
Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Bidell. Discussion on? Ready to call the question? I'm gonna just read out the motion again. The motion here is that the tax rate bylaw number 1203-2024 be introduced and given first readings, and that tax rate bylaw number 1203-2024 be given second and third readings. All in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
We still have, there's no new business. So the next one here is item 7 on the agenda, which is questions from the public. Do we have any questions from the public on Zoom?
If there are any questions from the public on Zoom, use the raise your hand button, please. No questions, your worship.
Thank you. Is there any questions from anybody in the audience? Seeing none, next order of business is call for adjournment. Do I have moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Vidal? No discussion, call the question, all in favor? Nobody's opposed, passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Okay.